Alright everyone, how you all doing? Hope you're all keeping safe out there. Today I'm going to have a look at the Marvel Legends standalone release Moon Knight figure. Let's get to it, shall we? This wonderful warrior in white comes to me today from the people over at InDemandToys. I recommend you go check them out, they're a great site. Yeah, I can't lie, Moon Knight is probably my... it wavers, it's either my favourite or second favourite Marvel character. He's up there with Man-Thing, and between the two of them I can't decide which is my favourite. And there's a reason for that, really. I mean, Man-Thing might have been the first comic I read. However, the first comic I actually ever bought was a Moon Knight comic. When I was a little kid, I used to go with my dad to antique centres, and the one, they had in a big display case, Moon Knight issue 1, and I loved the look of it. I raced over to get my dad and said, look Dad, I need this, can you please get it me? And he went up thinking, oh, it's a comic book, he says, it isn't, not going to cost much. Balls, it was the 90s, the comic book boom was up, the speculator market was dragging the price of everything up, and I couldn't afford it. Well, my dad couldn't afford it, he probably could, but he isn't going to buy a little kid a £30 comic book now, is he? Luckily, however, the guy had issues 2 and 3 for a lot lower price, so my dad got me them and some others a few weeks later. And I was hooked. I love Moon Knight. But, question is, who is Moon Knight? So, who exactly is the Moon Knight? Let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Moon Knight first appeared in Werewolf by Night, in a sort of antagonistic role, though this was retconned later to be part of a heroic endeavour. But as for the character himself, Moon Knight is Mark Spector. Most of the time, it's complicated. A former US Marine, he became a soldier of fortune, a mercenary. Spectre formed a mercenary unit alongside Jean-Paul Frenchy Duchamp and Raoul Bushman. Now, remember that name, Raoul Bushman, because the guy is a bit of a psycho. I mean, not trying to bury the lead here, the guy is a complete psycho. I mean, he paints his face as a death mask, he files his teeth down into blades, he's slightly extra, shall we say? While Spectre never really agreed with Bushman's methods, it wasn't until they came across Dr. Peter Oran and his daughter Marlene that things kind of came to blows, mainly because Bushman decided to kill the doctor by biting his throat out. With Bushman finally going too far for Spectre, he allowed Marlene to escape while he attempted to beat Bushman himself. Unfortunately, it didn't go very well, because Bushman ended up, shooting the crap out of Spectre and leaving him in the desert to die. And while a normal man may just bleed out in the sands, that wasn't Spectre's fate. There was a higher power at work. Spectre eventually dragged his way through the sands to a temple which had never been seen before. A temple belonging to Khonshu, the god of the moon and vengeance. There, at the foot of Khonshu's statue, Mark Spector died. And then rose again. Khonshu had decided to spare Mark Spector, to give him back his life in exchange for him becoming Khonshu's vessel on Earth, his fist. Filled with a sense of purpose and life he had never felt before, Spectre took the cloak from around the statue and went out into the night, trying to find Bushman to stop him. Bushman at this point had already escaped, but the fever had been lit. Mark Spector was no more. In his place was now the Moon Knight. Returning to America along with Marlene and Frenchy, Spectre began his superhero career. He even adopted 2 other identities to help in his work, the millionaire playboy Stephen Grant, and the man-on-the-street taxi driver Jake Lockley. Spectre was even eventually able to track down Bushman, who'd been hiding in the States, and, through a rather intense battle, was able to get justice for himself and for the good doctor. Mark Spector continued his career as Moon Knight for quite a long while, until he lost faith, really, in Khonshu. He hit a low point in his life and spent years wallowing in pity. Though he did eventually regain his faith and once more take up the mantle of Moon Knight, though now with Khonshu taking a much more vested interest and manipulating him to a greater extent than ever before. Spectre was also diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which explains the separate identities of Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant as actually being separate personalities within him. Though they don't always get on, they do try and work together towards their common goals, even if those goals occasionally go against Khonshu's will. As I'm recording this, Moon Knight is yet again in the forefront of Marvel Comics. He's actually single-handedly taken down the Avengers. I mean, he's beaten the Iron Fist in a fight, he's whooped Doctor Strange, he's stolen the Ghost Rider's ride, he even co-opted Mjolnir from Thor and beat him, just absolutely wrecked him with it. All for Khonshu's sake, of course, part of some master plan to hopefully save humanity, though this is Khonshu. He's a god that gets off on manipulating people, so we'll get to see what the actual outcome is going to be. So whatever the future may hold, one thing is for certain. Moon Knight shall shine like a full moon in the night. The fist of Khonshu. The vengeance made manifest. Hopefully that little catch-up got everyone up to speed on the character, so let me get down to the figure itself. Moon Knight here is a great figure. Yeah, that's it, review done. See you folks. Yeah, well, it's all over. Go buy it. Recommend it. Oh, okay, I suppose I actually better go into the figure itself. Moon Knight here uses the modern, fully articulated Marvel Legends male book. It looks really good, has all the articulation you want, it's got this brilliant, striking white colour scheme, which is probably going to mark to hell in a few years' time. In fact, if you turn the figure around and look at the back, I mean, this lovely, beautifully sculpted and highlighted and sort of shaded cape has already got a few marks on it. But I can live with that. I can paint them out afterwards or just look at the front of the figure. As far as accessories go, Moon Knight comes with a staff, which I think is a reuse of the one that came with the semi-recent Gambit figure. It looks good in his open hands. It's a weapon he has in the comic books. You know, spot on. Moony also comes with a pair of large moon sickle blades. I mean, they look good. They fit into his hands just. They fit in one hand slightly better than the other, but he looks good wielding them. They're weapons he should have. Yet again, spot on, Hasbro. He also comes with a pair of punching hands, which are sort of no, they come from the previous Moon Knight figure, which was a great figure, but the sculpting is slightly different. They have crescent details sculpted onto it. I can live with it, really. I mean, if all else fails, there's a figure out there with white closed fists I can probably nick some from. The fists actually have these little tiny holes or spaces in between the fingers, which are there so you can put these teeny tiny, ridiculously easy to lose moonerangs in there. I did it for the shot, I ain't doing it again. They're probably going to get lost within 30 seconds of me actually finishing this video. They're probably vanished now somewhere. He also comes with an alternative head. In some depictions in the comic books, the actual mask itself under the hood is black, and this lets you do that. It looks good. It's not my personal preference, but it's an option. It might come in useful some of the time. Personally, I wish the figure came with an unmasked Mark Spector head, so we can have Mark Spector. And, you know, as I'm talking about things I'd really like, could we have had like a Stephen Grant and a Jake Lockley head? I mean, just thinking about it, the recent Peter Parker body would be a great one for Jake Lockley. It's actually pretty much what he wore in the comic books, and just any generic figure in a suit. Put on the Stephen Grant head and bingo bango bongo, you've got your two other identities for Moon Knight. Comparing him to other Marvel Legends I've recently picked up, and some I love just anyway, he's comparable to the recent Spider-Man from the Vintage Wave. I mean, the two actually do team up quite a bit in the comic books, and they look good together. And the nearest thing we really have to a Marlene is the recent Gwen Stacy figure. And by the way, that thing's a pain in the arse to stand up. It just doesn't balance. Just no. And of course, here he is next to my joint, possibly more favourite, possibly less favourite. I love the both of them. The Man Thing. So, this is, if you had told like 10-year-old me I could have high quality figures of both these together, I would not have believed you, but oh, just look at them, they're beautiful. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh. Yeah, sorry, don't quite know where that came from then. But anyway, the figure looks great alongside other figures in a fight scene. I actually kind of have a soft spot for having him punching out Norman Osborn, because there was a time when Osborn just kept screwing with him, and he really lived to regret it. I kind of hope we get a Bushman figure at some point. I mean, the guy looks very toyetic, and just from a customising point of view, we've got most of the figure there already. If you take the recent Rage figure from the Avengers Gameverse line and the legs and accessories from Nuke, it just needs a head that would fit on there properly, and, you know, you've got your nemesis for Moon Knight. Okay, so final thoughts. This is a figure Hasbro didn't have to make. No one was out there screaming for a Moon Knight figure. Some of us may have sacrificed several chickens and things to get this, but there wasn't a mass market request for it, but they delivered a brilliant looking figure. It's probably my favourite Marvel Legends of the year, if not last couple of years, and I've had some decent ones. So that's it. Go get one if you can. And until next time, folks, stay safe, stay sane, and keep on rolling. And it's bye for now. Ta-da!